All right, let's jump right in. Today we're taking a deep dive into one of the greatest tragedies ever written. We're going to peel back the layers in the final gut-wrenching moments of Shakespeare's Macbeth and really explore the psychology behind this complete and total downfall.
Right at the very end of the play, this is what the new king, Malcolm, calls the Macbeths. Wow. Talk about a harsh final judgment. But is that really the whole story? We're going to spend this time unpacking that very question, and we'll start with the queen herself.
So, let's start with Lady Macbeth. You know, she was once this ruthless, ambitious powerhouse pushing the whole plot forward. But when we meet her now, she's in a state of total mental collapse. Her famous sleepwalking scene, it's like an unfiltered, horrifying window right into her tormented soul.
Now, her sleepwalking isn't just some weird habit. Shakespeare is showing us a full-blown psychological breakdown. It's the direct result of that overwhelming guilt she's been trying to bury ever since she helped murder King Duncan. This isn't just a sickness of the body, it's a poison in her mind, and it's a poison that's going to lead straight to her death.
So, what does this breakdown actually look like? Well, a doctor and a gentlewoman are watching her, trying to figure it out, and they notice three key things. She is always carrying a candle. She's obsessively, constantly rubbing her hands, and this is the big one, she's talking in her sleep, and she's spilling all the secrets she tried so hard to keep locked away. Every single one of these actions tells a story about her guilt.
I mean, talk about a complete 180. Remember how she once called on thick night to cover up their bloody deeds? She basically invited the darkness in like an old friend. But now she's so terrified of it, she has to have a candle with her at all times. The very darkness she used for cover has become her greatest fear.
And it's the exact same story with the bloodstain. Right after the murder, she was so casual, so dismissive. She told Macbeth, "A little water clears us of this deed." Easy. But now she can't stop rubbing her hands, tortured by a spot of blood that isn't even there, whispering, "Out damned spot." She's trying to wash away a stain that's only in her mind.
And it's not just us who see how broken she is. The people watching her know something is deeply, deeply wrong. The gentlewoman is horrified by what she's hearing. I mean, it's basically a confession to murder. And the doctor? He knows he's completely powerless here. He says this disease is beyond his practice. He's telling us her problem isn't medical, it's spiritual. Her very soul is sick.
The doctor leaves him with this absolutely chilling and, as it turns out, very accurate warning. You need to watch her. People in her state often end up harming themselves. He sees the violent path she's on, and he knows exactly where it's going to end.
So, as Lady Macbeth's mind is just collapsing inward, her husband is facing his own kind of end. His kingdom is crumbling around him. His enemies are literally at the castle gates, and he's about to get the news of his wife's death.
So his queen, his partner in crime, the one he called his dearest Chuck, is dead. How does he react? You'd probably expect this huge outburst of grief, right? But what we get is something much, much colder. Something far more empty.
It's shocking. He shows almost no sadness. He's become this total pessimist. For him, death is just something that happens to everyone. His wife's death is just another meaningless event in a world that has totally lost its meaning for him. He's just numb.
And this is the heart of his famous speech. All of it, the plotting, the murders, the ambition, it was all for this empty feeling. For Macbeth, life itself is just a bad play. A tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. He got the crown, but he lost any reason for living. Now, while Macbeth is lost in his own despair, the world outside his castle is closing in, fast. The consequences of his tyranny aren't just in his head anymore. They are real and they are armed.
And you can see his total loss of control right here. His own thanes, the lords of Scotland, are abandoning him. His own soldiers are deserting to join Malcolm's army. And they're not just switching sides, they're actively fighting to save Scotland from the man they now call a tyrant.
All this time, Macbeth has been clinging to one last hope, those prophecies from the witches that made him feel invincible. But now, we get to watch them unravel with this kind of cruel poetic justice. First, he hears that Birnam Wood is moving towards his castle. Turns out, it's just Malcolm's army using tree branches as camouflage. Bam! The first prophecy is a trick. Then, in the final battle, he comes face to face with Macduff, who reveals the final twist. He was born by caesarean section, meaning he wasn't, in the witch's twisted words, of woman born. And just like that, the last prophecy crumbles. So everything is gone. His wife is dead, his kingdom is gone, and the prophecies were a lie. All hope is lost. What does he do in his final moments?
Let's break down this final brutal sequence. For a second, he gets a flash of that old confidence back when he easily kills the young Seward. But then he confronts Macduff, who tells him the truth about his birth, and that last shred of belief in his own invincibility is just shattered. But even then, with no hope left, what does he decide? He refuses to surrender. He will not be captured and paraded through the streets. He chooses to fight to the bitter end.
And so, he fights Macduff, and he is killed. The tyrant is finally defeated, and with his death, this bloody chapter in Scotland's history closes, and the natural order is finally restored.
Which brings us right back where we started. With Macbeth and his wife dead, Malcolm delivers that final judgment. And it sticks. It cements their legacy. They won't be remembered as a tragic king and queen who fell from grace. Nope, they'll be remembered as a butcher and a demon.
But after seeing the whole thing, the anatomy of their downfall, the psychological torment, the despair, those final desperate actions, you have to wonder, is it really that simple? Were they just a butcher and a fiend? Or were they something way more complicated, victims of their own ambition, caught in a tragedy they built for themselves? That's something you have to decide.